I now have the distinct privilege of introducing to you our first keynote speaker of the weekend. He gained national prominence as part of the Obama administration in the United States and has always been rooted firmly in communities. A champion of environmental and racial justice, which is a critical piece of the broader good jobs conversation. He quickly became the target of a political smear campaign led by Fox News, which can only be a good thing. It means he's doing something right, in my opinion. But as you'll see in a moment, his passion is relentless. And it's no surprise that he was named among the top 10 influential people by the Rolling Stones magazine. Please cue the video, please.
My name is Van Jones. I'm the president of Rebuild the Dream, and we have this initiative called Yes We Code. Yes We Code is an initiative to get 100,000 low-opportunity young people trained to be the best computer coders in the world. Right now, we are in Oakland, California, and we have the first hackathon that's focused on black male achievement. You got all these young brothers you expect to see on the street corner playing basketball. They're like creating the apps of tomorrow, and it's amazing.
It's a healthy app, and the name of our app is Healthy Bird.
It's a game.
So it's a
Healthy Bird?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, I love it already.
It's a game that teaches youth how to take care of their health and how to be fit.
Ordinarily, when you're thinking about young black men, you're hearing a lot of bad news, hearing about them doing bad stuff. These kids are doing incredible stuff. We tell these young black guys, all right, you basically can be successful 4 ways, right? You're either gonna be a hustler out in the corner, or you're gonna be a basketball player, or you're gonna be a rapper, or you're gonna be Barack Obama. Okay, that's it. That's your whole menu, all of which is highly unlikely. What if there were a 5th door that said you can also be a coder? You can also be somebody who creates the future with your own hands. That's what Yes We Code's all about. In Silicon Valley, you wear a hoodie, you're Mark Zuckerberg. But don't wear a hoodie looking like Trayvon. You ask me why I'm up here. I'm up here for Trayvon. When you see this kind of opportunity out there, and you see it missing this many young people, you gotta step in. Especially when you know when the young people get involved, they're gonna take it to a completely different level. If you can see a future for them, where they're building, they're making, they're contributing, everybody's wanting their products, their services, their help. If you can see that, we have a shot. I saw that today. Give it up to these young people. People who we're here for. People who are trying to change themselves, trying to change this country. Genius, absolute genius. Some of the best kids you're ever gonna meet. Look how beautiful they are, every one of them. What are they wearing? Wearing hoodies. Don't shoot our children. Don't attack our young people. They might cure cancer. Might come up with a better game than Angry Birds. They might have some angry nerds. Anything can happen. Miracles can happen. Everybody here, you are very, very blessed because you get to witness in this space, in this moment, in this time, the birth of a new movement that is going to not just bring out the best in this next generation, it's going to bring out the best in humanity. Because when you give these young people the tools to build a future that works, it won't just work for them. It's going to work for all of us. Yes, we code.
So please welcome Mr. Van Jones.
Thank you. Where's my podium? Okay. Very good. Hi. Thank you. All right. Very kind. Honored to be here. Thank you. Thank you. Well, first of all, it's an honor to be here. Second of all, can you bring me my podium back? Because I got notes. I got stuff to say. So if you can bring my podium back, that'd be awesome. Well, first of all, I'm so glad to be here. Look, y'all got cousins and neighbors and ex-boyfriends and ex-girlfriends who are doing anything on a Saturday but this, okay? But we're those crazy people who just love the people so much. Thank you, brother. What's your name? Brody. Give Brody a round of applause. That was quick. Brody's doing a good job. You know, a lot of folks are enjoying their weekend. We're here because we got work to do. And we're just those kind of people. We just love too much. We just care too much. And all those folks who are, please don't go on your Twitter, your Facebook page, because they're all having fun. They're posting all kind of pictures and stuff. But when we get finished today, hopefully we'll make their lives a little bit better. I want to premise my comments on just a fundamental argument. And I hope it's not too controversial. I hope we're on the same page with this. This is my firm belief. When our enemies are united and the people are divided, victory is impossible. That's my view. That when our enemies are united and the people are divided, victory is impossible. What does that mean practically? That means that somewhere there's a kid, a young person, who did what we told them to do. I've spent a lot of my time dealing with kids that didn't do what they were told. But we got kids now who did what we told them to do. They stayed in school, they stayed out of trouble, and they graduated off of a cliff into the worst economy since the Great Depression. And now there's about 300,000 of them just here in Canada. And after they did what they were told to do, the best they can get is an unpaid internship, not for a week, not for a summer, but for year after year. Now, if that young person stays isolated and the people stay divided, victory for that kid is impossible. What am I talking about concretely? You got people that we now refer to as precarious workers. See, we try to be polite. Precarious workers. And they work what we now call temp jobs. The wages are temporary, but the anxiety is constant. The anxiety is constant. Precarious means you're scared every day. Precarious means you're scared out of your wits every day. You got more month at the end of your paycheck, and you don't know what's going to happen. Every single day you're looking at children who have these horrible habits of eating food every day. You're looking at your spouse, your partner, who has this horrible habit of wanting to live indoors. And you're scared every single morning when you wake up. You wake up with a lump in your throat. That's precarious. It's called being scared out of your wits. And you never know when it's going to end. And as long as that worker is isolated, no union will take them. As long as they're isolated and the people are divided, victory for that worker is impossible. What am I talking about concretely? You got single mothers out there who struggle on the job not just with a glass ceiling, but with harassing coworkers and managers and bosses, and then who leave that battleground to go home, where they have aging elders and hungry kids, and they feel in their heart that they're failing both sides of their lives, failing at work, failing at home, because the laws and the programs and the cultural change and the help that that young mother needs to be successful are still far away. As long as that young mother is out there, taking an early bus, isolated, and the people are divided, victory is impossible. Concretely, you got indigenous folk, First Nations folks, living in the aftermath of broken treaties. 1,000 indigenous women missing or murdered and no inquiry from this Harper government. A shame, a scandal from this Harper government. Have a man more interested in looking good than doing good. I hate to offend anybody. But the families of those women and their children, as long as they're isolated and people are divided, no chance of victory. Concretely, people with disabilities, genius, wisdom, insight. People are more than just a body, more than just a diagnosis. And they look and they see that our government here in Canada, your government here in Canada, has signed on to every convention, every treaty, the UN Convention on the Rights of the Disabled Person. They signed on to the convention. They didn't sign up for the hard work of making it real. That's a tragedy with this Harper government. As long as she's isolated in that wheelchair, as long as he's isolated in that wheelchair and the people are divided, victory is impossible. Look at the skilled trade workers. They know how to build a home. They know how to fix a road. They know how to repair a bridge. They know how to lay a pipe. And they're looking at a country increasingly on the downward path with a government that won't invest in the infrastructure to let the economy grow, and their skills now going to waste, sitting in the union hall, sitting at home. As long as those skilled workers are isolated and people are divided, there's no possibility of victory. Even the kids, increasingly young people, brown people, only interaction with law enforcement, negative. I was just in Ferguson. Don't think it's just the United States where young kids of color feel under the gun, feel disrespected. It's all across the West that young kids of color, many of them newcomers, with gifts to offer, with passion and creativity in their heart, feel themselves to be strangers and enemies in the only place they know is home. As long as those kids are guilty until proven innocent in the eyes of law enforcement and isolated and the people are divided, no hope for that kid and even our business community. You have small businesses, small business owners who would maybe pay a decent wage, who might obey some of the common sense laws around not polluting and workforce safety, but they look across the street and they see their competitor with no morals. And now, because we don't have a government that will uplift the standards, then it's a race to the bottom. Even our business leaders, our best ones, being drugged down. And as long as that business leader is by herself, isolated and people divided, no victory is possible even for her. Why do I want to make sure we're on the same page with this basic analysis? Because if that analysis is true, that no victory is possible as long as our enemies are united and the people are divided, then our most sacred responsibility, the most important thing that we can do, is to unite the people. It's to unite the people. That is our sacred responsibility. That's our responsibility. And that's why I'm here. I'm here because something's happening in Canada. You guys got a crazy dude up here. I don't mean Mayor Ford. Either one of them. Got a crazy dude up here who believes in uniting people. Got a crazy dude up here who somehow, in a moment when most of labor is infighting, splitting, and squabbling, said, no, we are going to come together. And because you have a crazy guy named Jerry, who's willing to buck the system and go against the trends to try to achieve unity. A year ago, a little bit more, two unions didn't split, didn't fall out, but actually came together. And the unity didn't stop there. Oh, I'm not finished bragging. Because sometimes good stuff happens and we're so busy looking at what Harper is doing wrong, we forget what we're doing right. It's time for us to look at what we're doing right. Some good stuff is happening here in Canada. Some good stuff happening. Right here in Canada. First step, bring two of the strongest unions together to make the biggest private sector union in the country. Most people would have been sane enough to stop there. Most people would have been sane enough to say, I'm amazing. Not you guys, not Unifor, not Jerry. Once you consolidated that new power base, rather than keeping that to yourselves, what did Unifor do? Threw the doors open with this idea of community charters. Why? Got to unite the people. Those temp workers, ordinarily, they're pushed out of the union. If you know that the most important thing you can do is to unite the people, the first thing you do, go get all those temp workers. Get all those people who are in neighborhoods where they don't have work. Go tell anybody and everybody that we believe in the dignity of labor, the dignity of all people, and we don't want to push you out, we want to bring you in. That's what Unifor is doing, uniting the people with the community chapters. Brilliant. Which brings us to today. You could have stopped just by building the biggest private sector union in the country. You could have stopped just by throwing the doors open and bringing more people in. But instead, even labor by itself and growing doesn't have enough power to create good jobs on its own. So we're here today in the next beat in this drumbeat toward unity and power and change, because now we got the students here. We got business here. We're uniting the people. That's why I'm here. I get asked to come a lot of places, and I'm blessed to do it, but the reality is, I got a TV show. I get to talk to whoever I want to. And I don't have to leave and get on the plane. I just go over to the station. So it takes a lot at this stage of my life to get me to get on an airplane. But it's not that many places I can go that feel like this. Not that many places. Not that many places. So I want to talk about look, again, I hope I don't offend anybody, but I'm going to be very specific about who I think we need to unite against. I want to be clear about what I think we need to be uniting for. And then I'll sit down with my colleagues, but I'm going to take my time. Who do we need all this unity to oppose? People say, well, these guys are against the 1%, and therefore they're against rich people, and therefore they're engaged in class warfare, and therefore they're just full of hate and anger, and we shouldn't listen to these guys. And I want to be very clear. The 1% is not my enemy for one simple reason. Beyonce is in the 1%. Any movement that opposes Beyonce, I just can't be in it. I'm sorry. She just, I know I should know. I can't, that's not it. So, that clearly is not the movement that we're a part of. Because if Beyonce came in here right now, we would all run over Jerry. It's not the 1%. It's the worst of the 1% of the 1%. This global elite that doesn't even live anywhere. They live on private jets and places you and I have never heard of and couldn't get to. And we're not mad at them because they're rich. I'm tired of that. We're not mad at anybody because they have money. Again, Beyonce. So, it's not the economic winners, it's the economic cheaters. It's the people who keep rigging the rules and rigging the game so we can't get anywhere. That's what we're mad at. That's what we're sick of. Go and be a winner, but don't be a cheater. Don't be a cheater. Don't rig the rules. It's these economic traitors. These people engage in economic treason against their own country. I get angry about this. I'm not engaged in any class warfare. I'm engaged in warfare against people who have no class. I'm going to say it again. I'm not engaged in class warfare. I'm engaged in warfare against people who have no class. What do I mean these people have no class? When it's convenient for them, they're Canadian companies. When it's convenient for them, they're American companies. When it's time for them to use the roads that your taxpayer money created to ship their products, then they're a Canadian company. When it's time for them to use the court system to protect their intellectual property rights, to enforce all that fine print in their contracts, then they're a Canadian company. And they'll run right into the Canadian courthouses that your taxpayer money built and your labor built, and then they're Canadian companies. Then they're American companies. But when it's time for them to pay taxes, they actually live in a small post office box in Bermuda. When it's time for them to build a plant or make an investment, well, guess what? Now they're a global corporation. And they owe you nothing. And when you ask them, well, hold on a second, pay us fair wages if you're a Canadian company. Pay your Canadian workers fair wages. Pay your fair taxes. invest here. Suddenly, now, oh, no, we're a global corporation. Now, this may strike you as familiar. Listen very carefully. See if this strikes you as familiar. Take, but give nothing back. Take, but give nothing back. These mega corporations would be the worst boyfriend ever. Huh? Gimme. Oh, you want, oh, no. I'm busy. My back hurts. No class. That's the problem. Not that they're high class. The worst of them have no class at all. And that's who we have to stand against. There are loyal, patriotic businesses that would pay fair taxes, would pay fair wages, would respect the earth, would respect the environment. We have no problem with them. If they will respect labor and pay their country back for the huge investment every country makes in its business class. None of these businesses are self-created. They use roads that the people built. They use the internet the people put up. They don't have to clean their own water. The people do that for them. We make a tremendous investment in the business class. And if they fail, we tell them, well, good luck, try again. But if they succeed, all we say is, pay your country back. Just pay your country back. Pay fair wages, pay fair taxes, respect the air, respect the water, respect the children. Just pay your country back so we can do it again for the next entrepreneur. That's all we're saying. And if you refuse to do that, then it's hard for us to understand why it is that we get accused of doing something wrong. We don't care if you're high class, we need to show some class. Now, again, I hope I didn't offend anybody. Now that said, Unifor is a brilliant name because it gets to my next point. I was tough on our opponents, I'm going to be tough on us for a second. Look, everybody knows we don't like the Harper government and all this little copycat, pretender, horrible governments around the world. People have a sense of what we're against. They don't know what we're for. We say I talked about that unity, for. We got to get stronger about what we're for, folks. And this is not just you here. This is just the left overall. Progressives have gotten... We are so good now at defining what we're against that what we are against now defines us. That's how bad it's gotten. Ask somebody, ask any progressive what they stand for. They'll say, well, I'm anti-racist, anti-sexist, I'm anti-war, I'm anti-corporate. Wait, stop! Try again. Who are you? What are you for? Well, I'm anti-racist, I'm anti-sexist, I'm anti-bullying, I'm anti-war, I'm anti-corporate greed. What you are against should not be the only way you define what you're for. This is a big problem that I see. We are so good at defining what we're against that what we're against now defines us. Anybody can oppose. I have a 6-year-old son. Ask me how I know. Opposition, though it requires some courage, is the easy part. I hear no every day in my house from both my sons. They know exactly what they don't want to do, whatever it was I asked them to do. That's what they don't want to do. The opposition part is easy. Anybody can oppose. Leadership proposes. We can't be all opposition and no proposition. That's why Unifor is on the right path. We don't want to just say no to these unpaid internships. Yes, no to unpaid internships, but yes to paid apprenticeships. Let young people earn while they learn. Yes to paid apprenticeships across this country. Put these young people to work. Stand them next to the trade, the skilled workers. You got skilled workers about to retire. You're going to lose generations of wisdom in this recession. We don't just say no to the unpaid internships. We say yes to paid apprenticeships. We don't just say no to these terrible, disgusting, stupid trade deals. It's so-called South Korean, so-called free, so-called trade, so-called deal. Got to say no to that. Canada imported 100,000 cars from South Korea, exported 100. Call that free trade deal if you want to. Nothing free about that. You're paying a tremendous cost with that kind of an imbalance, and that's no deal at all. So yes, we say no to these rip-off, giveaway trade deals. Look, I'm all for free markets, but I want to live in a world, I do not want to live in a world where the market is free and the people are not. I'm not into that world. That's the world they want. But it's not enough just to say no to dumb deals that send jobs overseas. We got to say yes to infrastructure and building up the country and creating more jobs here at home. It's not enough just to say no to legislative attacks on working people. You have the government has more bills to hurt labor unions than help labor unions. And that's across the board. Yes, you got to say no to that, but you also have to say, as you say no to the bills that tear workers down, say yes to bills that lift workers up, like a minimum wage of $14 to $15. Say yes to that while you're saying no to the nonsense. Now, I wouldn't come this far without at least sharing with you a few of the things that are working for us in the United States. Let me tell you 3 quick things that hopefully will give you some courage and inspiration. We take a lot of courage and inspiration from you guys. And then I'm going to tell you a story about an African leader that inspires me, and then we'll be done. 3 stories. Folks out there are scared, man. They're scared. They don't believe that labor can fix it. They don't believe the politicians can fix it. They don't believe even well-intentioned companies can fix it. And they need to see some new ideas and new thinking from the left. So this past year, we've rolled out a couple. My little group, Rebuild the Dream. First of all, you saw Yes We Code. What's that about? It's about there's a new trade out there that we have not focused on. There's a new skill set for young workers in technology. And we realized that as African Americans, as black folks, we had a stupid strategy that had not been imposed upon us by the Ku Klux Klan, had not been imposed upon us by Fox News, had not been imposed upon us by any of our enemies, that we had adopted. And our strategy was this: take 1 million black kids, have all of them work very, very hard to get into the NBA. A million black kids every weekend out there playing basketball so they can get into the NBA. What's the problem with the strategy? The NBA hires 15 kids a year. You got 1 million black kids out here getting ready to apply for 15 jobs. Meanwhile, Silicon Valley And the whole tech sector from Austin to Boston says they're going to be 1 million jobs short in 8 years, just as our friend from GE was talking about, when it comes to computer programmers and engineers. And if we're not careful, we'll have about 15 black kids competing for the 1 million jobs. Now, this is not, now, if I were the Klan, if I were in the Aryan Nation, I would vigorously propose this strategy. Have 1 million kids try out for 15 jobs and 15 kids try out for 1 million jobs. And you lose on both ends. So we reached out and we said, let's get together. And we got Prince, the rock star. We got Dr. King's family. We got Google, we got Facebook, we got the Ford Foundation, and we got 90 groups all across the country who have been trying in their own way to teach poor African American, Latino, Native American kids how to code. And we said, let's get together, let's build a pipeline, not the Keystone Pipeline. Let's build a jobs pipeline. Let's build a talent pipeline that could really get 100,000 of our young people ready. Now you say to yourself, Van, that sounds great, except that no kid I've ever heard of in the inner city wants these jobs. And I said, you're probably correct, but let me tell you what we said. And I want you to be able to do the same thing. Because labor has got to get on this and start training and preparing for this new workforce. I had a very simple rap with these kids. It was in Detroit, Oakland. You saw some of it. Very simple. I go in and I say, all right, got 3 questions for you guys, you young men, you young women. I ask them, number 1, who in here has a smartphone? Okay, so I'm an old guy, I'm out of it. Who here has ever downloaded an app? They all raise their hand now. They're feeling real good about themselves. They got a smartphone, they've downloaded an app. And I say, okay, my last question is this. Who here has ever uploaded an app? And not one hand goes up. And I say, you know why? Because you're suckers. I'm very popular with young people. I say, because you're suckers. When you download someone else's app and use it, you make money for them. If you want to make money for yourself, you have to have the tools and the training and the talent to upload an app that somebody else uses. So you're sitting here looking so smart and so slick, moving your thumbs around, making somebody else money when you're broke. You move your thumbs around, you make somebody else money when you're broke. We used to call that picking cotton. Oh yeah, I'm tough on them. I'm tough on them. We used to call that picking fruit in the field. Nothing wrong with it. But who here wants to be an uploader and not just a downloader? Who here wants to make real money? We tell them, you're a computer coder, even if you don't have a college degree, you can make $70,000 a year. $70,000 a year the cops can't take. They say, well, Mr. Jones, I'm not good at math. I said, don't lie to me, boy. I see you out in the street corner good at math. How much genius we're wasting out on those street corners. Those young men on those street corners do math every day in metrics. And they can't be off by a milligram or a quarter. They might get shot. If you can do that kind of math under those kind of conditions, you can program a computer and have a good job. Let's stop wasting genius. Let's give these young people the training and the opportunity to be a part of the new workforce. And labor should be leading the way on this, because these are going to be the workers of tomorrow. Another idea we have is called what we call Cut 50. We're working to cut the prison population in half. We're working to cut, I'm going to say it again, you didn't hear me. We're working to cut the prison population in half. Why? Because I'm tired of conservatives saying that they're conservative and that they're tough on crime. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you're so tough on crime, why do you keep building these prisons that produce more crime? If you're that tough, why are you building crime factories? Why are you building crime universities and wasting money doing it? If you're conservative, you'd ask the question, why are we spending $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 per year per kid locked up? You could send 2 kids to Yale for the cost of sending 1 kid to jail, and these kids come out here worse than when they went in. That's not tough. That's stupid. Don't you let this Harper government sit up here and make a punching bag of these poor kids and say they're conservative. If you're conservative, you're going to want every penny, nickel, and dime spent on these kids to make these kids better off and not worse off. You give, in California, we were spending $120,000 per year per kid, and the kids were coming out and going right to adult prison. I said, you give a black grandmama 1 kid and $120,000. And see if that kid gets in trouble ever again. You're not conservative. You got the biggest money-wasting government boondoggle in the history of the world, these prisons. And you give our people that money. You give our teachers that money, our artists that money, our yoga instructors that money. And they'll do better by our kids than you. So we're standing up to this. And you should too. And then let me say one last thing. Green for all. I didn't say green for some, I said green for all. I want to say that, and you were wondering when I was going to get to the environmental piece. Here it is. These young people are like, dude, the environment, the earth, we're dying here. They're cooking our planet. Could you please mention that? First, let me say how much I respect our workers in the fossil fuel industry. And I mean that. I actually marched with our coal workers last summer who were being tricked and mistreated by our coal companies and having their pensions stolen. And I marched and went to jail with coal workers because our fossil fuel workers are heroes. They risk their lives every day to keep the lights on for me and you. So let's not denigrate them. Let's not denigrate them. But we also have to be honest. They're risking their lives drilling holes for coal, drilling holes for oil, and they're doing that for me and you. They're doing that because that's how we want to live today. And I respect them, but I'm going to tell you this. Canada's future is not down those holes. Canada's future is not down those holes. Humanity's future is not down those holes. We'll still be using fossil fuels for the foreseeable future. Those people will still be working. But if you want to see the future, look up. Look at the sun that puts a Saudi Arabia worth of energy onto our planet every single day. If you want to see the future, look up. Look at the living wind that blows across both our countries. Enough power in the plain states alone in the United States to power the whole country just with clean wind energy. If you want to see the future, look up. Look into the eyes of the worker sitting there idle, who could be building the wind turbines, putting up the solar panels, making the homes more energy efficient. Each wind turbine, 8,000 finely machined parts. That's a car. Each wind turbine is much steel as in 30 cars. You can put your automakers back to work, your steel workers back to work, just tapping the clean energy right here in North America. If you want to see the future, look into their eyes and see how hungry they are to work. If you want to see the future, look up. You see? And don't tell me that it can't be done, because in California, we passed our own cap and trade bill. They didn't want to do it in Washington, D.C. Well, we said, you don't want to do it in the nation's capital? We got 50 other capitals. 50 other capitals. So we went to Sacramento. We passed our own cap and trade bill. They said it was going to spike the energy bills. It was going to hurt the poor, and it wouldn't even bring carbon down. And they were lying, because in California, after we passed cap and trade, our energy bill stayed flat. Say it again. We priced carbon in California, the 7th largest economy in the world, and energy bills stayed flat because we had efficiency, so people aren't paying more. And a quarter out of every dollar we raise goes directly to help poor communities. And carbon is coming down. I have seen the future, and it works, and we will do it across the country. We don't care what they say in Washington, D.C. We will save the earth for our children, and we will create jobs doing it. It can be done. I've seen the future, and it works. Let's stop wasting genius with these young people. People say, well, why are these young people joining the ISIS and these horrible things? Young people need something to do and something to believe in. And if we don't give it to them, the drug dealers and the terrorists and everybody else will do it. We have a vision. Progressives, that's as empowering and as exciting as anything these other people have. Because we're about uniting people to solve tough problems of poverty and lack and want and discrimination. Moving humanity to a higher level. I learned a lot from an African leader. I'm not going to mention Mandela because everybody talks about him. I want to talk about the first husband of Mandela's wife. Everybody talks about Graça Machel, how great she was. I want you to know about, in closing, Samora Machel. This is what I'm going to leave you with. Samora Machel was an amazing African leader. He was, of course, killed. But as he was building up the progressive movement in Mozambique and trying to get freedom for the people of Mozambique, he reached out to allies around the world, and somebody sent him a letter and somebody sent him a check. And the check had a lot of zeros on it, and he was very excited. He thought to himself, look at all the things I can buy for my movement, for my organization, for my people with this check. I can see these zeros, but I can't read the words. I don't speak that language. He said, I want to know what the translation is. And so someone was able to translate it, and the words were charitable donation. Charitable donation. Samora said, send the check back. Send it back. And he wrote a letter that is now a part of the canon of radical literature in Africa. The letter said, I wrote to you seeking solidarity, not charity. I wrote to you seeking solidarity, not charity. He said, no. He said, solidarity is an act of mutual aid between two forces pursuing the same objective. Say it again. Solidarity is an act of mutual aid between two forces pursuing the same objective. That's what Unifor is beginning to emerge as a possibility for in this country. Solidarity, not charity. When you bring the young people together, it's not because we feel sorry for you. It's because we're pursuing the same objective. When you bring the women in, it's not because we feel sorry for you. We're pursuing the same objective. Labor, the good businesses, indigenous folk, the disabled. We're pursuing the same objective, that to live in a Canada that is respected everywhere in the world because we respect everybody at home. To live in a Canada that is as concerned about free people as free markets. To live in a Canada that works for everyone and where everyone can work. That is the objective. And if we respect each other, reach out to each other, stand up for each other. We can divide our enemies, unite the people, and win the change that we deserve. So let's do that. Thank you very much, Unifor. Keep it going, Unifor. We appreciate you. We need you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Solidarity. Solidarity. Thank you.